Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Robert Allen, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Kim Owen. We warmly welcome the family of Private Arthur Newman Barnes, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Arthur Newman Barnes. Arthur Barnes was born on the 1st of June 1888 in Boort, Victoria, the eldest son of grazier Matthew Barnes and his wife Fanny. He received his education at Boort State School and went on to become a grazier and farmer like his father. In 1909, he married Victoria Disher and settled on a property at Wimbuta in New South Wales. The couple went on to have 3 children together, Agatha, Adele and Matthew. Barnes enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 5th of July 1916. He was assigned to the 58th Battalion and began training at Broadmeadows in Victoria. He embarked from Melbourne 3 months later on board the troop ship Nestor. Private Barnes reached England in November 1916 and continued training with his battalion. The following month, he contracted mumps and was sent to the hospital to recover. In January 1917, he left England, bound for the trenches of the Western Front. He joined his unit in April 1917, where it was serving in the front lines of the Somme region in France. Private Barnes's first major action of the war took place near the ruins of the French village of Bullecourt. An attack on the Hindenburg line at the village the month before had ended in carnage. Under heavy machine gun and artillery fire, and without the expected support of tanks, Australian units took over 3,000 casualties in one day. Private Barnes was to take part in the Allies' second attempt to break the line at Bullecourt in May 1917. The 58th Battalion made its first major attack at Bullecourt on the 12th of May, some days into the battle. Preceded by heavy artillery barrage, the battalion was tasked with capturing the enemy redoubt and main road leading into the village. In doing so, it was also tasked with expelling the enemy from their trenches and dugouts in order to advance the Allied line. Advancing units encountered heavy resistance, but eventually succeeded in capturing their main objectives. By the time the 58th Battalion was relieved the following day, it had captured 4 enemy machine guns and 184 German prisoners. During the attack at Bullecourt, Private Barnes was badly wounded by enemy gunfire. He was taken by field ambulance to the 29th Clearing Station, where he received medical attention before being transferred by train to the 18th General Hospital at Canberra in France. There, on the 15th of May, he wrote a letter home to his wife and children. "I have been wounded and sent to the base. I have wounds in the fleshy part of my left thigh and in the right ankle. I am feeling a lot better now, as I was wounded on the 12th. I am treated very well here and the nurses can't do too much for you. So, as I can't say much, I will close with my best love from your ever-loving Arthur." About 2 weeks later, Private Arthur Barnes succumbed to septicemia in hospital and died on the 25th of May 1917. He was 29 years old. His brother Ernest, who also served, later reflected on Arthur's death. "I could not help thinking how ironical things were, when he, the one who had tried to live an uneventful life, who was quite content to stay at home and rear a family and till the ground, should after a few short months of adventure meet his death and be buried far from his loved ones, in a grave in a foreign land. I could not help but think, when considering Arthur's fate and the sadness caused by it to his friends and relations, and more especially to his parents, wife and children, that it was all so very unfair. Arthur Barnes was buried at Étable Military Cemetery, France, beneath the inscription, "In memory of the dearly loved husband and father of Mrs. Barnes and children. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Arthur Newman Barnes, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.